Welcome to the Hacking Your Health podcast with Ben Canning and Dave Kennedy. Two guys heading out to hack body, mind, business, and beyond. We are here to provide a single source, bullshit-free guide to understanding your body and how you can live better for longer.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. I am Ben Canning.
I'm Dave Kennedy.
And this is Hacking Your Health podcast. What's going on?
It's another week. And we've gone twice this week because I was in Vegas last week, but it's good to catch up again and go through some good stuff. It's been a good week, although I just started my first day of deload. So it's
you have started your first day of deload week for the third time this week. So you're like, I'll do it on Monday. Didn't do it Monday. I'll do it on Tuesday. No, I'll just train legs. So today, the jury's still out of whether we're only halfway through the day, so still might train.
I hate deload so much with all my life. Like, why does our body need a break? It's ridiculous. Like, hey, why can't we just keep going 110%, 130% all the time and never, have to chill? But apparently everybody's body, they're stupid. They're stupid. No, I needed it. I was aching and sore all last week, and I just felt sluggish. Tendons hurting, all that stuff, and my tendons start to hurt. I know it's time for deload, but I thought, like, if I just I kind of had like periods
just
of
one
time.
more session. Just one more session.
I was like, I can just get one more in and then one more in. And then yesterday I was doing legs, and I was just, I'd done some heavy lifting. I did 545. So I sent Ben a message last night. I'm like, hey, deload, day, I'm going to go light. And it was like 545 for a deadlift. And I nailed it. But I would say 3/4 the way through the lift, I was done. Like, I couldn't even do leg squats or anything like that. My arms were just killing me from like a soreness perspective. And I was just like, okay, it's time. I hit that point. So I know when I need it.
This is the first time that you have prescribed your own deload week. So how long are you going to deload for?
We'll see. We'll play it by ear. We'll see how I'm feeling.
More than a day?
Well, we talked about it. I think the plan would be, so today's Wednesday. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I'll do a deload. And then Saturday, I'll play it by ear. My buddy Bobby's coming over, so I'll go a little bit lighter on Saturday to see how it goes and how I feel. And then, I'm going to do chest on Saturday, and then I'll hit legs on Sunday, seeing how I'm feeling. So I think I got a good plan. I just don't want to do it. But I'm going to do it because I have to do it. My body definitely needs the break for sure.
It does. And me as your coach, I'm recommending that you do also deload. And I was just saying just before, I got my feedback back from James yesterday, and it was like this voice note that total about 8 minutes, but there was like 90 seconds of it where he was like, so I'm just looking at your plan here, and we've been doing this same workout plan for 12 weeks. And in my head, I was like, he's going to tell me to deload. Like, I don't really think that I want to. Like, I don't have enough time if I don't want to keep it. He's like, I just think we need to change your plan. I was like, thank fuck for that. I definitely did not want to deload. So I feel your pain, but my coach has not told me to. So I'm going to continue to train. You know what? What I'll do is this week, I'll send you photos and videos of me training the same way that you've been sending photos and videos of all the food that you've been eating. Is that fair?
Sounds good. Here's the thing too. I'll send because if I'm deloading, which means I can only be down to about 3,100 calories or 3,000 calories.
Real tragic. That is a tragedy.
So I don't know how I'm going to survive on 3,000 calories. Like I'm just going to send you meals of like the steak and the Pop-Tarts and other stuff.
That's okay. I'm going to be training push and pull and doing deadlifts and
damn it. I think you win on this one.
But yes, no, I genuinely do think that your body needs it. And it will be good when it comes to Saturday. It'll suck today and for the next couple of days, but whenever you get into the gym on Saturday and you're back to feeling 100%, like you've been talking about this for about 2.5 weeks, so it's probably time. I think you rinsed it.
Yeah, and I even took a really large step today, and I didn't go to Orange Theory, which I woke up. So I interesting about this one. I actually woke up at the same time I normally go to Orange Theory, just to make sure that it wasn't me saying I'm too tired to go and do it or things like that. So I had to stay in my routine. So I still got up to go to Orange Theory, but I did not go to Orange Theory. I did not take my pre-workout. Although, because if I would have taken my pre-workout, I would have went to Orange Theory. But it's one of those things where, I want to stay within my routine and habits, even though I have a couple of days of deload. But, I can tell when it's time. So I have a confidence in myself with the training, with my nutrition, with everything else, that I know that I can push certain things at certain times. And a good example of that is I was starting to feel like I enjoy going down and lifting. I enjoy like the routine, and I know even days that I don't enjoy it, as soon as I hit the weights, it's not a chore. It's like something I just have to do. I was feeling like it was a chore, that I didn't want to do it, that my body was just basically fighting everything because it's just exhausted. So I know it's time, but it's just one of those things where my brain is like, hey, let's just go get a lift in. It's no big deal, Like,
it's like, yeah. I'm not telling the rest of your body, like me and you'll just go.
So it's so stupid, because I'm like, okay, well, I missed the legs day, so I got to make sure I make that up. And then like at the same time, like, well, then I also want to still grow my biceps too. So like I'll hit arms a little bit, and then I'll just do this, it's like, it's not gonna be a big deal. It'll be fine, So anyways, listen to yourself, do deload weeks, relax, and we talked about what deload weeks are. After a certain amount of time, you have to give your nervous system and your muscles and your body a break. And there's a couple of ways of doing it. One, you can do a certain percentage lower of your workout routine, or you can kind of go cold turkey for a couple of days, just to give your body a break and to kind of, heal back and do everything the right way. So it sucks.
I don't think the first one would be any good for you, because you would get into the gym and you'd be like, I'll just do what I normally do. It's like, I'm here, why not?
So you told me that the day I was doing chest, shoulders, and triceps, and I literally started off with like 60 pounds for dumbbells, and I was like, that was like way too light. So then I'm gonna go I was like, by the end of it, I was like, with 125-pound dumbbells, I was trying to max out. It was so stupid. So it's like, yeah, I can't help myself.
Yeah, better to just not go to the gym.
Yes, unfortunately. But yeah, so this is our year in one day, right? Year in one podcast, so year plus one.
Yes, yeah.
That's awesome. We've been doing this for a little bit of time, and I think it's been going really well. I've been really happy with the progress, community, everything else that's been happening there. So no complaints there, and appreciate everybody's support. It's been really cool to see the stories and the people continue to be motivated on it. And I was telling you, when I was in Vegas, I had so many people come up to me and say they love the podcast. In fact, I just had a tweet today talking about somebody that just got hooked onto the podcast. And what was the exact wording here? I'll get it for you. It was, I spent the better part of Friday listening to your podcast, and the last 2 days driving back and forth listening to it. I think I've gotten through every single episode. So I think you've binged Dave and Ben for the past year, all of our culminations of podcasts. So that's really cool to hear, and always get to get feedback from there.
Yeah, it's actually interesting. I had a call this morning, a discovery call, as I have quite regularly. And I actually wanted to talk about this story today because I thought it was quite a cool story. And it was interesting because in the initial questionnaire, he had talked about listening to all 51 episodes. So obviously it was up to 51 at the time of filling it out. But conversations like I had with him sort of remind me, I don't know about you, but to me, you and I just have a conversation once a week and then we put it on the internet. Like I don't think anything beyond that. But obviously, people listen to it, people take the advice, and people action it, and people actually able to make progress and, literally transform and change their lives. So being able to have sort of feedback from someone who has listened to all of the episodes, is up to date with the episodes, and sort of has implemented things along the way. And it's actually to the point, look, was almost saying things back to me about things that I had said or things that you had said. And I'm like, oh yeah, we did say that. That is a thing. But his story in general is quite unique. I'll not name him because I didn't have this conversation about being able to talk on the podcast with him. But basically, in a long story short, about 4 years ago, had quite severe heart issues, had to get a stent put in, had open heart surgery, which sounds frightening, to be honest.
I had a heart surgery where they ran through a catheter into my blood vessels.
Well, I imagine he said he was awake, but I can't see it, and he got a DVD after him, like a fucking souvenir. You're coming away with a DVD of here's my heart surgery. Like, insane.
Man, it's nuts.
But yeah, crazy. But anyway, long story short, at that time, I'm gonna have to do the conversion of kilos to pounds here because he spoke in kilos, which I really liked. So at the time, he was 340 pounds, and over the past 4 years has been able to lose 155 pounds. So he said 70 kilos, so like 154, 155 pounds.
It's amazing.
Which is a fucking incredible achievement.
Yeah.
And obviously we haven't been around doing the podcast for 4 years, and it's things that he has sort of done by himself. But it was interesting to sort of hear his journey and his thought process around things, and actually to the point where the reason that he came to me is because he feels like he has sort of hit a plateau with things, and there's things that he has done that potentially weren't done in the right way, or the usual, as we've spoken about before, doing loads of cardio and then not actually physically happy with how he looks at the end of it.
Yeah.
So it's not my job to take over weight resistance training, sort of build him back up and whatever else. But there was a lot of things that he sort of said that I think people would really resonate with. And one of the things was, before he started training, he felt like he was just working. So his life revolved around work. Works in similar field to you, so like that sort of thing, like he just worked. There was nothing else outside of that. So it was unhealthy. You know, he didn't really look after himself. He said, I spent the first 50 years of my life not looking after myself. And that's sort of what led him to here. And I think obviously there's potentially a lot of people who are listening to this that can relate to that at some point, that they were almost just like existing to work type of thing. Sound familiar to you?
Sounds familiar. Sounds 100% familiar.
You've been there. You've been there.
And
then obviously
my life story.
Obviously with the health problems and the heart issues, sort of, he was like, right, shit, I actually need to do something. And he was actually quite open and honest about, you know, taking ownership with, you know, bought a spin bike, not the first spin bike that he bought, you know, had tried to avoid it before in terms of like put it in the balcony and close the door and forgot about it, actually put it in the middle of his living room. So he had to fucking do it. But one of the best things that he said, and I actually had to get him to repeat himself. I was like, sorry, did you just say he gets up at 2 a.m.? I know.
See,
right?
I can't relate to this guy anymore. I'm out of this conversation.
But so my point on this is, number one, about always finding a way. Now, this is obviously an extreme example, 100%. But he has to get up at 2 a.m. because he has a 2-hour commute to and from work. So he gets up at 2 a.m. so he can get the first train, so he can get into time on work, so he can leave work on time, so he can get back to the gym on time before it closes. And I was like, that is fucking dedication. I mean, if there's ever an excuse to not go to the gym, that is it. But he does it on the days he has to go to work, gets up at 2 a.m., does a 4-hour commute, 2 hours either way, does his work day, and then still goes to the gym at the end of the week. And I was just like, that is, you know, people have excuses like, oh, I didn't go to the gym because it's raining. I'm like, this motherfucker is on the train going for 4 hours and still up at 2 a.m. Still, like, I'm like, this is insane. I was like, did you say 2 a.m.? I was like, you'd be texting Jocko, like, slept in, you know, it's only half 4. I've been up for 2 hours. What the fuck?
Jocko's nothing in comparison to me.
yeah. But I just thought it was so cool. And the one line that he said that I think it resonated with me, and I think could resonate to a lot of people. And he was talking about social situations and environment and the people who surround them and navigating that sort of stuff. He said one thing that he realized over time is he didn't need to justify his actions to other people. And what he means is, every time going to a party or an event being like, no, I'm not drinking, or no, I'm not going to eat the cake or whatever. And people are like, why, blah, blah, blah. Nobody around him seemed to be supportive. And every time he went, he felt like he had to justify himself. So he realized that he was then making excuses not to go to things because he would rather just not go to the event than have to deal with that every time. And he said, you know, it sort of took a while for his support network to get on board with things and for them to sort of accept they'll ask once. If he says no, then it's a no. And then they can sort of move on from there. So if you're somebody who thinks that in terms of having to justify yourself, you don't need to justify yourself to anybody, no matter what. And I felt that was a pretty decent lesson. But a very cool story. And I was like, respect for getting up at 2 a.m. because, I mean, I'll get up at 20 past 4, no problem. But 2 a.m. is still the middle of the night, proper.
You know, what's interesting about that conversation, too, is, you know, he recognized that he hit a certain point where he can no longer progress, right? And needed some help and assistance. And he's had a lot of success there, but, you know, we're always learning in this journey of health. And we're always trying to figure out the best way to accomplish our goals and what that means to us. And it's always this continual fine tuning, progression, things that, you know, and I'll get all the time where I'm like, hey, I started off with, you know, 2,200 calories and I was losing 2 pounds a day and I was able to, you know, shave off 30 pounds.
But you're losing 2 pounds a week.
I mean, 2 pounds a
give me that. What were you doing?
You know, but then all of a sudden, you know, it's no longer working. I'm really restricting my calories. Well, guess what? Your body's changing. You lost 30 pounds. It's not the same amount. So you need to adjust accordingly. And that's kind of the journey you have to think of. And I also think, you know, the cardio aspect of things, I think such a imbalance. You know,
I
there's
just did 20 minutes of cardio before to put that in.
not saying cardio is bad, but you know, it's such an imbalance of the importance. You know, everybody focuses on if you want to lose weight, do cardio, and while, you know, at its foundation, that's true, right? You know, if you're doing more cardio and you're eating less, then you conceivably will have much more of a caloric deficit, which means that you'll lose more weight. But the problem is that if you don't couple that with nutrition and everything else, and you're eating more calories than you do, then you know, you're going to gain weight. And you're not going to understand why that's happening. Same thing for, you know, people that are like, hey, I want to just drop 30 pounds. Well, you drop 30 pounds and you're still not happy with yourself. You drop 50 pounds, you're still not happy with yourself. You drop 100 pounds, you're still not happy with yourself. Where the whole time you could have been doing, you know, resistance training, gradually shaving off that weight, and then eventually having a much more desired build because you're able to put on some muscle mass while also being able to eat more as well because, you know, you have more muscle mass. So, you know, I think the always learning and trying to have folks around you, a community, a tribe. We've talked about the tribe quite a bit on this podcast, but a tribe that helps you with continual knowledge. I mean, I learn new things every single day, you know, in this journey, new studies that come out, someone that tried something different, someone that elaborated or clarified on something that I was doing wrong. Those are all things in this journey that allow us to get better. Now, F the people that try to critique my form when I don't ask for form feedback, but everybody else is totally cool.
Everybody else is cool. Fuck those guys.
Yeah, those guys. you see the guys that are critiquing you. They're deadlifting, you know, 150 pounds and just started a week ago. Like, hey, you know, your 545 pound deadlift. I saw that, you know, you had a little bit of a wobbly back. I'm like, yeah, I'm lifting 545 pounds. Like, it's not easy. Okay. Like, this is close to my 1 rep max here. So, you know, F off. I'm not asking for feedback. I got a trainer for that, you know, but anyways, I diverge on that. And that's not to say that I'm not looking for feedback. When I ask for feedback, I definitely will ask for it. If I'm not asking, please don't respond back. It's kind of like going to a gym and starting to critique people while they're in the middle of lifting. Don't do it. That's an
just walking move. About like fully dressed, not even in gym clothes.
Not even gym clothes. Like, hey, I see that you're, you know, really you should angle your arms this way for the shoulder press. It's going to hit, you know, like F off. Come on. But
the contingent education thing is important too. And, you know, I'll speak about me working with James. Like, obviously I've learned a lot from him, and I was chatting to you yesterday about the sort of plan for the next 12 months. I've never had a plan for that amount of time that I know, okay, for this amount of weeks I'm going to do this, for this amount of weeks I'm going to do this, then for this period I'm going to do this. And it kind of feels good because I know sort of markers that I need to hit when I need to hit them. Obviously things can change and it's not like to the day, but as a sort of overarching plan for the next 12 months, I know exactly what I need to do. And it means that each phase is controlled, and also, you know, okay, and I know that. So to recap on it, 2 more weeks in a deficit, 4 weeks in maintenance to come and hang out in America and not drink Irish car bombs. Then back to like 4 or 5 weeks in a deficit again to get me to a really, really good set point coming in. That'll be the end of October. And then 6 months of a surplus. In the middle of those 6 months, there's 2 scheduled either maintenance phases or deficit. So obviously the likelihood is I'll put on a little bit of body fat along the way. So we'll just do a couple of mini cuts to sort of get back. So it'll not be like 6 months total in a surplus. That brings us to the end of May. And then we'll look at like a 9 or 10 week cut to bring me to the start of August, which is when we've spoken about sort of as a focus goal for you as well.
Yep.
But the thing about that is, the funny thing about it is, I don't know if I said this to you yesterday. I got those pictures back from James yesterday of the comparison. And number one, I didn't realize I had 22, 23, 24 pounds to lose, and do feel like I could still lose more. And yes, while I look a lot leaner now, I
awesome.
feel a lot
You look
better.
awesome. Let's just be clear. You look awesome.
Thank you. But I do think genuinely that this is how I should look and walk about and feel all the time. And I know that maybe sounds ridiculous, but I don't think that it would be a struggle for me to do this. And I think I just sort of probably let business take over, let the ball slip on things, wasn't accountable to anybody, and got myself into the position that I was before. I do feel like I could genuinely stay this lean in a surplus all the way up, and that will be the challenge. But I don't think there's any reason for me to gain massive amounts of body fat along the way. So that will be the challenge moving into the next phase. But anyway, the idea of this is having that sort of extended phase. So luckily for you, Dave, once we jump off this call, I'm going to look at your next 12-month phase and see what we need to do over that 12-month phase. So you have that sort of locked in and you know, right, okay, this is what we're going to do and this is how long we're going to do it for. So So yeah, I think that'll
just making
That's
sure
me.
we're not going below 3,000 calories though ever, right?
We'll see. I actually think I have a message from you that said, even if we need to go below 1,900 calories, I'll do it.
Yep.
But I have to sort of
do it.
screenshot and send it to you. But you know, it can be done, and I think that's one of the most important things. And
Yeah.
for me, you know, even if we're talking about continued education, if you had said to me 6 months ago I'd only be eating 1,700 calories, I'd be like, no way, like I wouldn't be able to function, blah blah blah. Number one, a mindset thing. Number two, you can do it if you do it properly and actually thinking about it. And that's why I've actually probably spent a lot more time cooking. Number one, to enjoy the process a little bit longer rather than just have, you know, a meal and then that's it done.
Yeah.
But number two, to show you guys and, you know, social media and people within the client group, you know, you can eat really good food if you're mindful about how you're putting it together. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't need to like, oh my God, I can only go and smell that steak and lick this lettuce leaf and that's my calories done for the day. You know, it can be done. And that's obviously the continued education of me with the coach, me and my own journey that I'm able to share with you and the client group and the wider community.
Yeah. I remember when we did a little bit of a mini cut phase, and I think I was down to like, you know, and you said I would normally not go down this low, but let's give it a shot. I think I was down to like 1,900, 1,800.
But even
calories.
that's a lesson in that too. So
Yeah.
the thing for me on that is I'll always be like, I want this to be sustainable on long term, which I do for everybody all the time.
Yeah.
And I had that in my head. It's like, oh, I don't want anybody to like really suffer and go under. So I had that psychological, I don't want males to go below this and females to go below this. But I do think there are times that warrant it. And obviously you and I will have a conversation about it. I'll not just go, you know, fuck you, 1,700 calories, that's it.
Yeah.
We'll have a conversation like, look, do you think we can push this a little bit further? I think we can get a little bit more from this. And can we push it that a little bit further? It will only be for 4 weeks or 6 weeks or 8 weeks. And I do think if the mindset of the client or the person is right, it's definitely warranted in doing it. And that's one thing that I sort of got from working with James. It was like, he's like, do you think you could do this for another week? I was like, yeah, I felt fine. And it's just like actually getting there and understanding.
Well, I think the first like week or two is the acclimation stage of like, oh shit, what are we doing here? You know, and your body's getting used to it and it's fighting you at first, but then you start to really you know, as long as you have control over it and you're, you know, it's okay to feel hungry. It's okay to, you know, want to eat food. I remember the first couple days and weeks that you were on it, you were like, I'm just looking at pictures of chicken or whatever the hell it was, you know, or
I literally, you know, like this is the honest truth. Any spare moment or minute I have, I'm watching food videos or looking at food on the internet. Like genuinely, I've started watching cooking programs. Like I just did 20 minutes cardio. I was watching Gordon Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares. I watch food programs like you would not believe.
So you're basically telling your mind, hey, you know, this is food, but I can't eat it. But it's getting your fill of what food might look like and taste like if you were.
So
able
I tweeted the picture the other day with the iPad on the bike, and there's just like bacon on the screen. Now I wasn't just watching someone fry bacon. I was watching like a guy was making breakfast tacos or something. But I genuinely do that. Like, I have no shame in admitting that.
Whatever you got to do. I mean, for me, my biggest challenge is
calories in watching cooking programs.
Yeah, I had. It's true. Unless you go and buy food right afterwards and eat it. But I'd always find like I could throughout the day sustain it, but night times for me were my bad habits. So like I had to get rid of my bad habit, which was I'd go downstairs. I usually have some bourbon or some drinks or things like that. And then I would just, you know, polish off a box of Wheat Thins or whatever as kind of like the you know, nighttime playing video games with my friends and things like that. And I've since broken that habit. One, you know, I stopped drinking pretty much consistently until probably Ben comes into town. But
I don't think I drink that much.
Good. Yeah, same here. We're going to probably drink so much, but it's fine. But not that much. You know, but one thing about my habits now, you know, when I go downstairs, I don't bring any food with me. You know, it's pretty much, you know, once I hit my calorie count, I'm done. Now, maybe I do have some calories to bank, you know, at night. So then I'll have some Wheat Thins or things like that, but it's not a habit anymore. So I've broken some of the bad habits around when I'd actually break my calories. Throughout the day, I'm fine. Like today, I woke up, you know, so I know that if I'm on a deload, which is still to be determined, if I'm only going to do that, I'm only going to be able to eat 3,000 calories versus, you know, 3,600 calories.
I wish I had a little tiny violin for your, oh my God, only 3,000 calories.
But it's different. You know, and so, you know, today I woke up, you know, I had a protein shake to get up in the morning. I had some fruit, so for some carbohydrates, some energy. Today I had it was a noodle and Thai chicken bowl with a lot of lettuce and kale and spinach and things like that. So 450 calories, 40 grams of protein in that sucker. So I'm scaling my food for the objectives that I have to make. Now, if I had to shave that down a lot, let's just say 500 calories. That's very doable, because by the time I hit I don't know, 4 or 5, 6 o'clock at night, I still usually have like 2,000 calories to go. So, I mean, it's just managing your day and expectations to make sure that you are getting the right types of food in versus like, if it was 3,600 calories today, I'd probably order, there's this really cool place around here I've been going to quite a bit. It's called Core Life Eatery. It's like all fresh food, organic, like all this good stuff. I really like it. And they have these whole wheat wraps that I really like. They're, Southwestern. They have like a buffalo chicken one that I really like a lot. And that's 750 calories. Good, swag of protein. I think it's like 45, 50 grams of protein in that. But at the end of the day, it's 750 calories. So if I'm, at 3,000 calories, if I just have a bowl that's more, vegetables and things like that, I'm shaving off 200 calories, 300 calories there. I know that I have another 300 calories to go from what I normally eat. So it's just playing with the numbers and mixing and matching to make sure I hit those numbers, but being refined with it. And if we were to go down 100 calories, 100 calories, 100 calories, 100 calories, I just continue to adjust, based off of that. It's usually not too hard to be making small adjustments. I think if I was going to go from 3,600 to 2,000 calories and I'm shaving off, 1,600 calories in a week, I'm probably not going to be a happy camper, for a few days or a few weeks.
But that's exactly the point. It's doing it in those small incremental changes over time, because it's easy to find 100 calories to take out.
Yeah.
The same way it's easy to find 100 calories to put in. The same way it's easy to add 5 minutes of cardio. The same way it's easy to add 1,000 steps. The same way it's easy to add an extra set in your workout. All those little things built up over time is what makes a long-term change. And that's why I do, like, in a very rare occasion, I'll go over 100 calories, either plus or minus, depending on what's going on with the client. But it's because it's easy to do, and it's not, it's not a big ask. You can literally look at your food and go, oh, that's 100 calories. I'll take that out. Like, I was on a call with Luke earlier on, and I took his calories down by 100. He's like, there's a banana sitting beside me. I'll just probably not eat that, and that's 100 calories. I'm like, there you go. Like, it is as simple as that. And I think there's a point that I want to touch on about him that I think we're about maybe 8 or 10 weeks in, maybe 8. And he said very early on about the change, like the identity change and the behavior change. And he sort of confirmed it again today. It's like he was never a morning person. And I sort of challenged him on it. And he's been getting up early, and he's like getting up a bit earlier, and he's like, now getting up at this, and he's doing, something else. And then, he's able to start his day and get his training and all these things. And he's like, I genuinely just feel like a completely different person. I'm like, that's what this is all about. Like, it's, finding things that you can do to change your behaviors to allow you to become a different person. And like, that's, you may not believe it the first time I say it to you when we're initial call, or anybody listening may go, these guys are fucking talking shit. Like, they don't know what they're talking about. Like, how can I be a different person because I start lifting weights and eating a certain amount of protein? That's literally what happens. Like, you start to build out this new person around the sort of habits and behaviors that you have, and you can literally change the person and change the identity that you have.
It's interesting. Huberman, I'm going to go into Huberman. But, Andrew Huberman, got to mention him on a podcast, but he talked about that, how people talk about themselves being a day person or night person or things to that effect. Yeah. And it's really all about how our circadian rhythm or our internal clocks are set for our habits that we conduct. So for for a night shift, our bodies get acclimated to that, and our clocks are tuned to that. So when we wake up, typically, having some sort of sunshine activates that circadian clock, so we are able to start the day fresh. And if you go back to, evolution of mankind, it's the same thing. We wake up in the mornings because the sun is out. We go and hunt. We do our stuff. We come back in our tribe, and we do our stuff. And then at night, we go to sleep. That's why I mentioned this before on the podcast, but why is a fire soothing for us as humans? Because we'd have fires running to keep predators away from us during nighttime. So it's soothing for us. That's why night lights actually soothe young children, because we're used to that as kids, or used to that, from an evolutionary perspective, of having fire outside to protect us from predators. So we have all of these things built into us that are, millions of years of evolution that are how we are structured to work. That's why our body works well under stress. When I say stress, I'm not saying, horrible stress at the office or things like that, but I'm saying more so, resistance training. Why does the resistance training make us stronger? Well, our body is under stress. It can't handle the load, and our muscles don't know. Our body doesn't know why we're lifting extremely heavy weights, but our body knows that we're trying to complete a task. And in order for us to be able to survive or to complete that task, we need to become stronger so it continues to grow. Same thing for fat storage. Why do we have unlimited stores of fat? Well, for days that we would never have food, we'd be able to go long periods of time without having to eat anything, and maybe just having water and things like that would allow us to live longer. That's why we are able to pack on fat so that we can live much longer, burn that energy at level off. Now, obviously, in a situation or world where we have unlimited food, that's never going to be a problem for us anymore, and that's a byproduct of our design, and we hopefully will evolve past that, or develop a pill that will work out for us someday in the first place, or just get out there and do it. But at the end of the day, we can change those patterns of behavior based off of our lifestyle. So I would always say I was a night person. So I would work until 3, 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, coding and drinking or whatever. And then I'd sleep until 11, 12 o'clock in the afternoon. And that was my routine. And that's, I always said, hey, I'm just a night person. I'm not a morning person. Now I have no problem waking up in the morning. I prefer going to bed, 10, 11 o'clock at night, and then waking up earlier so that I can get things accomplished before the day actually starts, and actually feel like I have a sense of accomplishment before the day starts. If I get my lift in, or Orange Theory, or whatever it ends up being, my HIIT training in, I feel accomplished already before I start the day. And I already know that I've done some really great stuff to get me to the point to where I'm at, throughout the rest of the time. So it's, one of those things where I feel like as long as you start to change it slowly, it will happen, in a much more accommodating way. It doesn't mean, hey, now start going to bed at 10, 11 o'clock and waking up at 4 a.m. You're going to be happy about that, or it's 5 a.m. or 6 a.m.
But it's the same conversation as the calories. Like you adjust it half an hour, half an hour. And then over time, you're a morning person. Like I sat last night, and I think it was about 20 past 9, and I was like, I'm just going to go to bed. Like I have no reason to stay up. Like, yes, okay, I could watch an episode or something, but that's an hour, and then it's 20 past 10. I'm like, I'm just going to go to bed. Like there's no need for me to be up. Like there's nothing to me that happens at nighttime that I need to be awake for. Yes, okay, I get up super early. I find that doing
when you say nothing, I do text you sometimes at night. I don't get responses back, but that's fine.
I'm asleep.
And now, do you really need to be sleeping at that time, though? I'm just saying.
Yes.
I'm saying, okay, fine. That's fine. I'm just kidding.
But, then I text you at 4 a.m. and I don't get a reply from you. I'm like, why is he not up?
Well, sometimes I got to sleep too, but
I'm sleeping, yeah.
You know what? I'm going to set it so that it only when it comes to you, it's going to be a loud, like buzzing sound that wakes me up. So I can
Aaron is going to be pissed off. But yes, I want to talk about one more client, and then I'll stop talking about it. I just have had a good day of talking to them, and I'm very proud of what everybody's doing within the client group. But I got a message from Jason, who was just back from DEF CON, and he said 2 things. Number one, he said he was proud of himself, which is exactly what it is about. Like you should be like, put the effort in. He trained while he was away, and it's the first time he was on vacation or travel that he actually trained. I think he said he trained 5 days out of 6, maybe not. But he was proud of himself. And what I sort of put back to him was, that's because it's not a part of your identity. It's not because you get on a plane. And I was open about it before. I was like, look, I used to get on a plane, and as soon as I stepped on the plane, just enter dickhead mode, that I was like out drinking and, eating food, and like didn't train, like just totally forgot who I was because I was in a different country. I don't think that necessarily needs to be the way. So as we spoke about before, fit that in throughout your schedule and whatever else. Obviously, on the flip side of that, if you don't want to train when you're away, that's absolutely fine. The other thing that he said was he was able to go away for 6, and you said the same thing. He was able to go away for 6 days and come back and not have put on a pound. And I think that just shows you, with a little bit of discipline, you can manage all these things. And that's sort of what I'm trying to get across with my own journey at the minute. I'm going away, I'm traveling, I'll be in America, I've been away endless amounts of times, I've been out for dinner, I've been drinking, I have done all these things, and I've still been able to lose 24 pounds, whatever it is. And it can be done. It doesn't need to be, right, today I'm going to start a weight loss journey, and for the next 6 months I can't go outside because there's too many calories outside and I'm not in control of them. Like, you can do all these things just with a bit of forward plan and a bit of education on it.
And I just want to say, I was actually able to gain 0.1 centimeters on my calves while I was away in Vegas. So anything's possible as you go through it. But to your testament, I mean, it's those small increments I think that make a big difference and change. And that it should be a running theme for everybody listening to this podcast, is that all of this is small, minor increments that have long-term, benefits and goals throughout the time. So when you look at making changes around, hey, I'm going to get 12,000 steps a day, that's a short-term objective that has long-term benefits because you're burning calories, you're moving your body, you're becoming more aerobic from a cardio perspective. There's many things that are happening there. Same thing for nutrition. You're making small things small changes that allow you to have good structure, but mostly, for me, it's confidence in my ability to do what I need to do. I mean, nutrition is probably, we've talked about this before, it's probably 90% of the battle. If you're eating appropriately, you're getting the right amount of protein, you're getting the right amount of energy, you're in a caloric deficit versus caloric surplus versus maintenance or whatever. Those are all things that allow you to have flexibility on your goals and objectives. And I have no doubt, I have zero issue right now about being in a surplus and gaining weight a little bit and maybe putting on a little bit more body fat than I would normally, because I know I'm confident in myself that as soon as it's time for me to cut that back, we're cutting it back. And I'm going to be able to do it because I have confidence in myself because I've gone through this before. And it's funny because I remember the first time we got into kind of the quasi bulking phase of things, I was freaking out. Like every week I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? Like, I'm getting bigger. The scale's going like, yeah, it's because you're eating more and you're gaining more muscle. Yes, you are having some fat, but we're going to take all this off. I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know about this. I'm getting scared. And then all of a sudden now we do the cut. I'm like, oh, there's my abs. Oh, I have bigger muscles. Oh, that's cool. Look at that. Look at that vein I never saw before. Like, this is really neat. And then I'm like, okay, I'm good here. So, it's going through those journeys though that are nerve wracking because it's the first time you're doing things. It's like the first time going to the gym and you're doing things wrong and you're thinking everybody's looking at you. It's these types of things that make a big difference, I think, in your overall journey. You just have to go through them at least once or twice and have confidence in yourself that you're not going to revert back to the same person. I'm so far away from the person I was 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, that I have zero doubt in myself on what I can do. But I also need help from, someone like yourself, obviously, Ben, to ensure that I'm on the right track.
You mean me?
Well,
not someone like
someone
me.
that is you. Someone that is named Ben Canning.
It's me.
Yeah.
Okay. It's actually funny. So I trained earlier on with another Jason, and one of the first ever guys I trained in the gym floor.
Whoa, wait. You mean I wasn't your first no, person? No, I'm just kidding.
I was the first person I trained in real life, one of the first people. Anyway, I was talking about, going into surplus, and he was like, oh, that would scare the shit out of me. I was like, what do you mean? He was like, no, like, I don't trust my body. Like, I don't have the confidence that I would be able to do it, and I wouldn't like to change. And I was saying about you, like, we've been through that, and it's like this is like all of your life, you've done this thing that was revolved around weight loss and losing weight. And then all of a sudden, now you're doing something that involves gaining weight. It's like, what the fuck is
I love seeing pictures of me at like 205, and I'm like, oh my god, look at my face and how skinny I was.
You know what you should do? Actually, it would be interesting because obviously all of the before and after pictures that we have of you,
like Big Dave, and
then different Big Dave. You should put Small Dave in the middle.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, show the progression.
Because
it's crazy because you look at the physique I had as Small Dave. And you look at the physique I have now as 244-pound Dave, and it's just so much different and drastic. It's crazy. I mean, granted, I'm sure I can drop 20 pounds, and be lean, but at the same time, it's like the physique is so much better on 244-pound Dave than it was at 205-pound Dave. And I look back at that, I'm like,
and
man,
people chase the weight. Like, I want to be like, I need to lose weight, and they chase it down the way.
Yeah. And that number is irrelevant. It's how you feel. I mean, I walk into places, I feel great. Like just even on social media today, people recognizing your transformation is an amazing thing. And I love seeing, there was a video that the Cavs Legion did with me. And someone had made the mention like, oh my God, like you look like the Hulk in that video or whatever, Jack Dave or whatever. And someone else had said, it was good to meet, Dwayne the Dave Johnson. It's just, it's cool to get that feedback of, I'm a big boy now in a different way. And I used to, when someone would call me Big Dave, I would, that triggers a quick response in my mind that I'm Fat Dave, because that's how I was. then I'm like, Big Dave, I like that. I like that now because I'm a big guy now, and I like that. Like, I'm a different big guy. All the hard work and effort we put into this has made a big difference in my confidence, how I feel about myself, getting compliments from other people. I mean, I had guys at the craps tables when I'm shooting, like yelling, "Let's go, Hawk! Let's go!" I'm like, all right, I'm cool with this. Like,
I can run with this. Everybody cares.
Yeah.
Okay,
you can call me Hawk as much as you want. I'm totally fine with this. Like, let's keep going. So,
it's funny you mentioned the weight thing, because if we talk about it in the opposite direction, because I feel like we always talk about one direction versus the other. Obviously, for me, that 100 kilo mark, 220 pound mark was what I always strive to be.
Yeah.
The reason being, I think if I think about it in kilos, is you move from double digits to triple digits. So like that's like a big accomplishment. It's a psychological number. You go from 99 kilos to 100 kilos, which is 220 pounds. Obviously, whenever I was on the way back down, I was telling you, I was like, I'm going to be under 100 kilos. Like I haven't been under this in like probably about a year and a half or 2 years. And I was like almost freaking out that I would feel like I was skinny then again on the way down. I was like, no, I can't do it. Then whenever James said to me, we're going to have to get to 91 kilos, I'm like, oh shit, no way. Like that is too low for me. Yeah. I don't want to. Then obviously, I mean, last week I was 93, got back from London. I was 93.8. I can't talk in pounds because I can't do the conversion quickly. 92.
You just need to move over to America and just use pounds exclusively.
Okay. Fair enough. And then we could be in the same time zone and text each other.
That's right. Yeah, see?
And not have to do this.
All works out. Good.
But then today, so I was 93.8 on Monday, 92.6 yesterday, and then I was 91.6 today, which is interesting. So I have until the 27th. Now, I'm not recommending anybody do this or have like fixed deadlines or whatever. I'm doing this very specifically with a reason for James. But he wanted to be 91 kilos 2 weeks before I leave to go to America, which is the 27th. So 10 days from today. So I'm like 0.6 kilos over that. I'm like, I wonder, could I get under 90 kilos? I'm like, under 90? That's another fucking psychological number. I'm like, I don't know. But, I feel good. And I think even if I don't know if I sent you the photos, but I definitely posted them. If you look at me on the left at 102 kilos or 224 pounds versus me on the right at whatever it is, 206, I look bigger.
Yeah.
In the second picture.
You do. And it's funny.
I'm definitely not.
It's funny you mention that because the cardboard cutout of Cardi Ben that I have in my basement, you look very defined, but the muscular profile you have now versus then is so different. Like you've obviously put on so much more muscle. Your physique, you look bigger than the Cardi B, which, everybody looks at Cardi B and is like, if Ben sent me a cardboard cutout of himself so he could live with me while we're here. But you look at the physique there, phenomenal physique, 6-pack, looks great. Everybody's like, oh, I want to get like that. But you look at the physique you have now, you have a much more defined chest. Your muscles from a bicep and tricep perspective are substantially larger. Traps are much more defined. Like that's the build that I want, right? The bigger profile. So you can tell the fruits of your labor when you start to shed all that off.
That's about 30, I would say 25 to 30 pounds ago was Cardi B.
And you're
25 to 30 pounds.
Where would you say at body fat percentage comp wise you are right now?
James said yesterday he thinks in and around 12 to 13%.
Yeah.
It's not something I've ever monitored or had measured, which I actually regret because I've had a couple of times where I've been very lean. So maybe actually this time I'll do it and get a good gauge. But he says in and around sort of 12 to 14. And that's we had the conversation about. I don't think there's any need to go above this. Like we'll strip it down coming into the end of October, hopefully get like 10 or below and sort of maintain 12, 13, 14% as a cap. And if I feel like I'm getting beyond that, then we'll just pull things back. But yeah, I think in and around 12 to 14%. Yeah, I would say probably in Cardi B photo, I was probably single digit.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree with that. But I mean, it looks so much better now. So yeah.
Yes.
I like current Big Ben than previous Big Ben. So
but the thing about you saying, whenever you're talking about being able to do a cut and lose 20 pounds, like the goal with 100 kilos or 220 pounds is to be that weight and be lean. So if you lost 20 pounds, you'd be super lean. You'd be 220 pounds. And that's the goal. It's the goal to be that weight and be lean. And there's a couple of guys that I follow in the sort of bodybuilding circle that work with Callum that are like stepping on stage at 100 kilos, like the weight cap. I can't even talk about how many, the weight cap's 102 kilos, and these boys are like inside out shredded. So that's what a visual representation of a lean as you can be person at that weight is. Obviously, I don't ever desire to be A, on stage, or B, that lean, but it's good to sort of see what that physique takes and what it takes on the other side, like how much you have to push up to get to come back down. So I guess it's a journey that never ends. But for the first time, and I think I've mentioned this to you before, maybe not on the podcast, there's always that internal, when I'm leaner, I want to be bigger. When I'm bigger, I want to be leaner conversation.
Yeah.
For the first time now being lean, I'm not like, oh my God, I want to be bigger. So it's maybe I've sort of found the balance of the two.
That's a very big difference for you too, because I remember you were always like, I want to be bigger. I want to be bigger. I want to wear bigger shirts. I want to do this. You know,
this is 2XL. Doesn't exactly fit me, but
but I mean, you were always concerned from your side was the exact opposite of me, which is I don't want to go back to being super skinny, small Ben, right? I want to be big Ben and continue to grow and big. Whereas mine, has always been, I don't want to be fat, big Dave again, in an unhealthy way. So, and the challenges that comes with maintaining body fat and stuff like that. So it's just interesting how we evolve and how we do things. Yeah. I'm looking forward to the next cut that we do because I think it'll be a good way to kind of see progress and continue forward. But it's gonna be interesting. Like it's just, again, we're tweaking, figuring things out. Our minds change. How we want to be changes. All those different things change. So,
but even like talking about cardio, and I actually admitted that I actually enjoyed, or it's not that bad.
6 months ago, Ben's like, who the hell is this guy?
For like, is everything okay in the future? But like that feeling of actually feeling fitter, like regardless of how much I have to push calories and what I have to do, I want to maintain some level of cardio because I actually like feeling fit. Do you know what I mean? It's not something I've ever had before. And like, I'm excited to go to Orange Theory with you in September and actually beat you this time.
There's no way.
Everybody else who's there.
There's no way.
You and everybody else.
There's no way. There's no way. It's not happening. Okay.
I ordered running shoes. They're coming tomorrow.
Okay. I mean, they better give you some sort of cheating ability.
They don't need to. I'll be 40 pounds lighter. Imagine how much lighter on my feet I'm going to be.
True. Yeah. Okay. We'll see. I'm a freak when it comes to cardio for some reason. I don't know why, but I'm very strong on that front.
I'm stubborn. So.
You are stubborn.
I'm competitive. So we'll
I'm definitely not competitive at all.
We should do a forfeit. We'll get anybody who's listening, tweet us with a forfeit that the loser has to do.
Yeah, we definitely should do that.
In America.
Yeah, I agree.
Open the suggestions, whatever you want. Tweet at We Hack Health.
We Hack Health. What are the ramifications going to be for whoever loses? I'm down for anything, whatever they want.
We can do a vote as well. We'll put them together.
You guys can make whatever you want to because I know I'm not going to lose, so it's perfect. So
you're so confident.
Well, I will say last thing I wanted to hit on before we close up the podcast is I learned something new this weekend, which I didn't fully understand. So when I ordered my G15, the Force USA kind of all-in-one, it's got a Smith machine, pulley system and things like that. I didn't understand the ratio aspect of weight training, and I probably should have, but I never really focused on it because it's just nothing. When I go to the gym, if I'm documenting things, I just kind of write it down in my thing, but I don't think of is it a 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 or 3-to-1, 4-to-1, etc. And what I didn't realize is that different machines have different ratios of weight. And what I mean by that is how the pulley goes over basically weight distribution for your lift. So if you're doing like lat pull downs, it's more desirable to have a 1-to-1 pulley system versus a 2-to-1. But if you're doing more muscle fatigue, it's better to have more of a 2-for-1 because it's going to have continual pressure across the weights as you go through. So what's interesting is my weight system at home is a 2-to-1, which means that if I'm loading 100 pounds on one pulley, I'm actually only lifting 50 pounds. So 100 pounds is actually equatable to lifting 50 pounds. Now, what's interesting about that is I was watching some YouTube videos and they did like a measurement of distance. So when you're pulling up, the amount of force that is needed poundage wise on 1-to-1s, 2-to-1s, 4-to-1s, etc. The 1-to-1s, the amount of force that's needed back here is much greater than the weight that you're pulling. So let's just say you're pulling 50 pounds. By the time you get back to here, it's going to be like 55 pounds or 56 pounds. Because it doesn't have any way to distribute that weight. When you're coming back on a 2-to-1 system, and I'll tell you about how you can kind of spot this, but when you're coming back from a 2-to-1 system, it's going over those weight distribution mechanisms. The amount of weight back here is going to be continuous, let's say 50 pounds. It's going to be 50 pounds here. So it allows you to kind of make different exercises based off of the type of equipment that you have, I have a 2-to-1 system. It can also go to a 4-to-1 system. So there's 2 pulleys on it basically. And if you latch one of them, it's a 2-to-1 system. You latch both of them, it engages another pulley system, which now is a 4-to-1 system. So why that's important is if you're doing burnout sets. So if I'm doing, heavy weights, let's say I'm doing some ropes and it's my last sets and I just boom, quick clip, boom, I'm doing half of those. I'm doing tiny weights to burn my muscles out from a fatigue perspective, an overload perspective. Those are cool things that you can do to kind of change around your workout routines. But I didn't realize that. And so, when you're doing really heavy movements, like again, lat pull downs from a pulley system perspective, probably better to have a 1-to-1 system for that, because your weight distribution as you're coming down, as you get further along, is going to be heavier down here, putting more strength onto your lats and your mid back. Whereas when you're doing bicep curls, tricep extensions, probably better to have more of a 2-to-1 system as you go through. And the way you can do that is by looking at the actual type of equipment and seeing how, if there's any type of pulleys that are going through loops, and the more loops they go through is the amount of times you can tell if it's a 2-to-1, 3-to-1, 4-to-1, etc. Normally, I think in most gyms it's going to be a 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 that you typically see out there. Some of them get really crazy. Like I saw one where it's essentially a machine bench press, a chest press, and by doing one arm, it's a 1-to-1. By doing 2 arms, it's a 2-to-1. So you can do individual ones to kind of burn out on strength, and then come up for a lighter weight. Doing half of those is kind of a burnout. It's kind of an interesting concept. So just interesting that I learned that. I had no clue on the weight distribution methods of pulley systems for when you're doing those types of exercises on machines versus, traditional free weights and things like that. If I put in 100 in, I would just assume it's 100, not 50 pounds, not knowing the type of equipment I was on. And that's good, obviously, for tracking numbers and things like that. So if you're doing 100 pounds, but it's really 50, you want to document that being 50 and not 100 pounds, because when you go to a different machine that maybe has, you're like, what the fuck? I'm putting 100 in. I can't do 100. This makes no sense whatsoever. I'd always wonder about that. Like a machine I go to, but like, I just did 100 over there and I'm only doing 25 over here. Something's jacked up. Like something's wrong here. Like I didn't fatigue my muscles that much. So it was interesting. I didn't know that. And it's kind of cool to break that down.
Yeah, so it's you find if you go to different gyms and you're like using the same machine, you're like, what the fuck? Like this doesn't make any sense. And I actually remember in Gymco, the gym that I used to coach in, there was like a wide pulley system. I don't know why I'm doing the visuals. You know what wide is? A wide one. Yeah. And then a close one. And they were like side by side. And on the wide one, there was a pulley on the outside as well. And you would do like triceps and this, and you would have like, you had plates on or whatever else. And then you go over here and it was like, as if you had a car on the end of it. You were trying I was like, why is this so heavy? But yeah. The thing you were talking about, it's the splitters. So it's how many splitters in it that divides the weight. So the one on the end was true weight. So it just basically went up, across, and down. So you were pulling the true weight because you pulled the rope and this went up. Whereas the other one had more splitters in terms of how many times it went through. So like you said, you're doing half the weight or you're doing a quarter of the weight or whatever it needs to be. So yeah, it's cool to sort of get an understanding of that, because it can be frustrating whenever you go from one gym and you're like, I'm so much stronger in that other gym. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's crazy. I never knew the difference between that. And when I ordered my my Force USA, I probably honestly would have ordered more of a 1-to-1 had I known the difference.
Can you specify on it?
So I think So the G15, you can do like a G13, which I think is a 1-to-1, and the G15, which is a 2-to-1. So they have different models based off of the 1-to-1, 2-to-1s, et cetera. And the same thing for that I realized, and this is stuff that, I just wouldn't have thought about going into it, but the Smith bar is a neutral weight. So the bar itself weighs nothing. They have it on a
So this is an interesting conversation that I've had with Helmy many times. I would say the same. I would be like, whenever I'm recording the weight of the Smith machine, I would just count the plates.
Yeah.
So 3 plates on either side, whatever it is, 120 kilos. But he would always count the bar. I'm like, the bar doesn't weigh anything. And he's like, well, it obviously weighs something. I'm like, yeah, it has a weight. But number one, it's always there. So you're always going to have to use it. It's always going to be the same. Number two, like some Smith machines, you can like this, like, for anybody who's listening and not watching, I'm like one finger, like you can lift it, like it almost floats. So for me, it's just like the plates because
I like to relate mine to like what I can do on a barbell bench, for example, or a military press, doing that the same thing on the Smith machine. But in the G15 specifically, it's a neutral bar, so it's weightless. It has pulley systems that make it weightless, so you can literally lift it with a pinky and it goes up and down. based off of no weights.
Me so strong.
Me so strong with the pinky. But it's not, what I don't like about it is I can't equate that to a direct comparison to what I'd be doing because it's a 45-pound differential, right? So I would love to have that 45-pound bar there and then be able to stack the weights on and include that. So it's similar to what I'd be doing on barbell or dumbbell or et cetera. Again, minor nuances. It doesn't impede me on anything. The 2-to-1 ratio doesn't impede me on anything, so I'm not blowing out the stacks. I think it goes with like 500 pounds on each one, so really 250 pounds, which I'm not touching. I'm not doing chest flies for 250 pounds or anything like that. So I got plenty of wiggle room on those. But and that thing is literally never leaving my house. There's no effing way. It was a nightmare to get it there, and it's going to die with that place. So so I'm stuck with it, which is fine. But I probably would have went a different route on the 1-to-1, so I can do more weight on like the lateral and the lat pull downs. On the rows, things to that effect that I probably would.
Well, when I'm over next month, I'll find a way that we can make it more difficult for you. I actually might send you a gym pin. So I got Helmy one of these. Basically, whenever you max out the stack, there's a company called Gym Pin.
Oh, you can put
basically
plates.
Yeah, it looks like the end of a barbell, but there's a pin on the end of it that fits into the stack, so you can put more plates on it. So
I've seen those before. I saw them at Smash Fitness had those in there, and I was like, "What the hell is this thing?"
That's the sort of place that has it. When you get the stack. The only time I've ever needed to really use it is on the adductor machine in GymDoc,
which I'll never use.
So I maxed that out. No, you do not like it, but it's my favorite. I had 2 45-pound plates and the full stack.
Yeah, I need to do some more leg. I haven't done leg extensions in a while. I need to do some of those. Maybe I'll do that today as a deload day.
No, you're not training anything in a deload. Right. I think we'll leave it there on the end of a deload with Dave.
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
With Dave. You should write a program, deload with Dave. Day 1, arms. Day 2, legs.
Day 3, legs and arms.
No. Full body workouts all week.
Yeah, full body workout all week. All right.
Everybody, thank you for listening. Please, as always, share us, hashtag, join the community. Wherever you are, come and hang out with us, because honestly, seeing people's stories, seeing the group interact, and even, the guy I had a call with this morning, he was talking about how he felt the tribe mentality that we have been speaking about in the podcast when he joined the Discord. So that to me is what it's all about. It's finding a space that you feel comfortable to share your struggles, your wins, your PRs, your progress photos, your food, whatever it is, supplements, obviously. So yeah, come join us, come hang out with us. Hashtag WeHackHealth. Discord, it's WeHackHealth. Everywhere, it's WeHackHealth. WeHack.health.
Catch us next week. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Appreciate it.
Bye.